say the term classic book, you probably think about Romeo and Juliet by Shakespeare, or Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, or Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. But what about in 50 or 100 years? Will we have the same classic books? Will we have more classic books, new classic books? Well, I am here to give you my honest opinion and try to figure out what modern books might be considered as classic books in 100 years. Now, people have tried to figure out what makes a classic, and I found a very nice and easy to read article that I will link below, but I will also read a bit from it. Put simply, a classic novel is a book that has stood the test of time because it's so good. It has a gripping story, which is expertly crafted and brilliantly expressed. But of course, it's not just about the story. Like any good recipe, there are a number of key ingredients that make a book classic. Even better, I gathered a list of key qualities that make a book classic. Timeless themes, lasting cultural impact, literary merit, endurance over time, continuing relevance, and recognition and academic presence. Now, let's get to the point and see what books I selected that I believe will be considered classic books in 100 years. Most of these books that I will talk about today have been turned into movies, so that adds to the timelessness that I believe they will carry. First of all, we have my favorite book of last year, Just Kids by Patti Smith. It's a memoir about Patti Smith's relationship with photographer Robert Mapplethorne. It's set in the 1970s in New York. It captures youth ambition, poverty, artistic devotion, and love. It is heartbreaking, but it is also very inspiring because we get to see the lengths that artists go to pursue their dreams and their passions. Why I think this book could become a classic. Its prose feels literary rather than celebrity driven, which is very important. It explores timeless questions about art, sacrifice, love, and identity. It's both a cultural time capsule and a universal coming-of-age story, and I'm a big sucker for coming-of-age stories. Plus, it documents a pivotal artistic era with intimacy and authenticity. Up next, we have The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. I hope I pronounced that right. I'm not good with names. And this book has also been turned into a movie. It's set in Nazi Germany, and our main character is a little girl who loses her brother and has to live in a foster family. And what's interesting about this book is that it's narrated by Death. Why I think it would be a classic. The narrator is Death, and because of that, it gives the book stylistic distinction. It tackles moral courage and humanity under tyranny. Still, books about World War II continue to resonate, but this one stands out for how it tells the story. Next up, we have The Hunger Games, and if you haven't read the book, at least you've seen the movie if you haven't been living under a rock. And I feel like this book is perfect for the times we live in, sadly, and I feel like humanity is slowly going towards what's happening in these books, but that's not a conversation for today and this platform. So this is a dystopian story about surviving, spectacle, and rebellion against the capital, aka the government. And this rebellion is led by Katniss Everdeen, icon, queen, we love her. So basically, there are multiple districts, and 2 people get selected each year to participate in the Hunger Games. And basically in District 12, Peeta and Katniss get selected, and soon they are thrown into the game alongside many other players. Thankfully, Katniss and Peeta outsmart the Capitol, and they are both able to win, and they start rebelling against the Capitol in the other books. Why I think this book will become a classic. It redefined YA and dystopian books for a generation. Its themes such as media manipulation and inequality remain relevant, especially with what's going on in America with ICE, but again, we will not talk about that today. Plus, it's created a movie franchise that it's not easy to forget, and one of the most badass, iconic female characters of all time, Katniss Everdeen, my queen. Love her. Next up, we have Poor Things by Alasdair Gray, another book that has been turned into a movie. I've recently read this, and it's very similar to Frankenstein, so if you liked Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, go ahead and read this. Poor Things is a dark, inventive reimagining of a Frankenstein-like tale centered around Bella Baxter and her autonomy and transformation. Let me tell you a bit about this book. So, this woman, Bella Baxter, jumps off a bridge, and she is found by a scientist, and so he takes her corpse in and he brings her back to life. But the catch is that she was pregnant when she killed herself. And so her body is the same, a mature woman, but her brain is switched to her baby's brain. So then she wakes up and she acts like a child even though her body is of a mature woman. And she falls in love with this guy. She runs away and she slowly starts to discover the world and how women get treated. Why I think this book would be a classic. It experiments boldly with form and narrative framing. It interrogates gender, power, and scientific ambition. Its mix of satire, philosophy, and gothic storytelling gives it depth and requires you to reread it. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chobsky. Yet again, another book that's been turned into a movie, but please, if there's one book that's been adapted into a movie that I've talked about in this video, please let it be this one that you're gonna watch. It's so good. Like, please watch it if you're not gonna read the book. Watch it even if you're gonna read the book. Hell, it's brilliant. So The Perks of Being a Wallflower is a coming-of-age novel, my favorites, and our main character is Charlie, an observant and sensitive teenager trying to navigate trauma, friendship, love, and worst of all, high school. I know, horrible. And basically, the book is written as letters by Charlie to someone. We don't know who. And in that, he talks about loneliness and the trauma he experienced, but also his new friend group and ordinary things that happen at high school and his future and his passions such as reading and music. Why I think this book has potential to become a classic. It speaks honestly about mental health before it was widely discussed, because this book was published in 1999 and people back then didn't speak about mental health so openly as they do now. It captures adolescents' experience in a relatable way. It continues to find new teenage readers decades later. A Dowry of Blood by S.T.Gibson. Sadly, this hasn't been turned into a movie, but I really hope it will be. Now, I was always the weird kid who had an obsession with vampires since I watched Twilight when I was like 12. And I have a deep love for vampire literature, as you can probably see from all the other videos on my YouTube channel. And if you loved Dracula and Carmilla, you will 100% love this. Dowry of Blood is a feminist reimagining of one of Dracula's brides told as a confession. So basically, Dracula finds our main character, Constanta, in a village and she is dying, so he takes her in and turns her into a vampire and his bride. We witness how she is manipulated by him and how two other brides join along. Why I think this book would be considered a classic. It reframes Gothic horror through the lens of abuse and autonomy. Its prose is poetic and intimate. It reflects contemporary conversations about toxic relationships and power dynamics. And lastly, we have The Godfather by Mario Puzo. Again, we have a book that's been turned into a movie, and this is a great example of the movie that popularized the book. I'm a big Godfather fan. I've been to Sicily where it was filmed. I love Al Pacino and Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro. I'm a nerd for The Godfather. And yes, I do know more about The Godfather than you alpha bros know. I'm not trying to say I'm better than you, but still, you know. So, The Godfather is a sweeping crime saga centered on the Corleone family. It explores power, loyalty, family, and the moral cost of ambition within the American-Italian mafia, aka the Cosa Nostra. Why it could be, and arguably already is, a classic. The cultural impact still has cultural impact to this day. Few modern novels have shaped popular culture so deeply. The story became even more iconic through The Godfather movie, cementing characters like Michael Corleone as enduring archetypes. At its core, it's not just a crime novel, it's a tragic story about son's transformation and the corruption of the American dream. Michael's descent from reluctant outsider to ruthless leader gives it Shakespearean weight. And lastly, influence on genre. It elevated the gangster story from pulp crime fiction to operatic family drama. Nearly every mafia narrative that followed exists in the shadows, especially those mafia romance novels that everyone is freaking out about. Yeah. The Godfather is the OG, except it's not a romance novel. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm waiting for your suggestions of books that might be considered as classics in 100 years in the comments. Thank you for watching.